Today I'm going to teach you how to properly turn a girl on.
No thank you. So after playing Wuthering Waves for 24 hours, I've just come to the conclusion that it is just better. The combat is better. The parrying, the perfect dodging, the cancels is just better. The different mob mechanics, the different boss mechanics that you encounter makes the variety in combat that you experience in the game that much better. And it's just gonna get better. It's not gonna get old because like new mobs are gonna come in. There's gonna be new mechanics in the future as well, and you get to enjoy those, and cancels as well. Sometimes you'll be perfect dodging or trying to perfect dodge, and then you realize like midway in that split second that you actually want to parry instead. And that's one of the experiences that I've had in this game, is that I try to perfect dodge, I see an opportunity to parry, and as simple as like a one click, I manage to cancel that perfect dodge and actually parry the mob or the boss, right? And it feels really good. And the fact that like every mob or boss that you encounter gives you kind of like a different combat experience makes it so it's not as repetitive. Because one of the things that I liked and hated about Genshin was that I liked the whole elemental system that they had, and then as it went on, I realized that I'm doing the same thing over and over and over, regardless of what type of like boss, what type of like mob it is. It was just repetitiveness, right? In this one, there's a lot more variation. It feels like playing PGR, which for any mobile PC cross-platform game is probably the highest compliment that I can give. And not just the combat as well, but the exploration. The exploration, man, it is just better. The grappling, I know that you have that in Genshin at certain points in time as well, but here in this game, you have it everywhere. You even have like an extra grapple if there's no existing node that will help you traverse and help you get to like higher places as well. And not only that, but the whole running up walls, the whole running like beside the wall, like the roof and everything, it just feels a lot better. There's a lot of instances in this game where I thought to myself, if I was playing Genshin right now, I would have been trying to climb this wall for 5 minutes, or I never would have been able to climb this thing at all, right? It's like it felt really bad, right? Because like in Genshin, for example, right, like I love Raiden Shogun, it just felt really bad, right? Because like in Genshin, it was just like oh, look at me, I'm a god, but oh shoot, a roof, my only weakness, and it always felt bad, man. And in this game, it's just like, you know, you run up the wall, oh wait, a roof, okay, another roof, okay, let me just flip over that. Like it just feels so good being able to do that. It felt like one of the most biggest pet peeves I had in Genshin was just like, hey, look at me, I can travel through space, but oh wait, a roof, my only weakness, I'm a god, I've lived for thousands of years, oh wait, no, a roof, my only weakness. It just always like felt really bad. And being able to experience it here, I've always thought that like this is how Genshin should have made their exploration. This is something that they could still do, but they haven't, because again, they had a monopoly on that genre specifically for the longest time, and they've had such a tight grip on it that they just got complacent. And not just that as well, the combat, the exploration is better, the little mini games are better too, the puzzles are good. I would say that they're probably about the same level with how I feel about them in Genshin, but like the little seamless transitions to like a platformer where I felt like I was playing Ori in the Blind Forest was just smooth. It's the transition it's just so smooth that it doesn't shake you up from your current in-game experience. It's just like, okay, like I'm just gonna keep continuing like nothing happened, because it's felt so nice, this whole transition that's just happened. Not only that too, but like the echo system and versus like the artifact system, the echo system is just better. Number one, for a grinder like myself, I love the fact that it's grindable, that there's no hard limit to it. So if I want to farm something, I can farm something, right? I can just keep farming a boss. I can forego the rewards, but I will always have a chance to get the echo that I'm looking for. So the echo system is really nice because of the fact that not only that, it's just less boring than our artifact system as well. It's not just a piece of gear that you equip, right? It's a piece of gear that actually has a separate ability that you can use depending on your playstyle, depending on like your composition. It just feels better. And it's not even, and the thing about that is that future patches will look more interesting because new mobs, new bosses will always have people looking forward to them because of the fact that they can have this skill that they can provide and will give you a new experience with that one piece of like part of the game. That one piece of equipment gives you that much like content, that much to look forward to. And it's not just in combat either, it's also in utility. Like, I don't even know the guy's name, but like Demon Motorcycle Dude, right? Like Inferno Rider, for example, right? It's like not just like in combat, but they actually have an option. Like, you could press Q if you want to trigger the attack, but you also have this option where you just like, you're running forward, right? And then you just hold Q instead of just pressing it. And then you get to ride him, like an actual boss in the game. You know what I mean? It's just so much more interesting than like an artifact system. There's a lot of things that just the overall feel of the game just feels better. I know people had their own issues with it, but I played for 24 hours and had no issues. I was awake for 24 hours playing this game on stream, and after the stream I even kept playing it as well. I just kept exploring because it was just actually fun. I mentioned the whole 24-hour stream thing as well because to me that is a gauge of how interesting a game is. If I can't play a game for a few hours without feeling bored, then to me that game is not something that I personally would not enjoy. The only thing that Genshin probably currently, and it might just be a matter of time or it might not happen at all, is like story. In terms of story, Genshin is amazing, and I love story. I paid attention to the story in this game as well. And honestly, especially with Fontaine in Genshin, it's a really high bar that Genshin has set. But again, Wuthering Waves has just started. They have a lot of like things that they can work on and improve as well. But the story itself, I actually like the story in this game. While it's not like the most unique, most mind-blowing story that you could think of, but the way that it was delivered, the way that it was narrated, and the way that it was presented in the perspective of not just you but also the villain, but also like the other the allies of you as a protagonist, it was just done so well that it made a story that wasn't all that mind-blowing into something interesting that I can actually pay attention to. Because if it wasn't, if they weren't able to do that, I would have been skipping the story. And I think the question is usually going to be like, oh, is this game going to be the Genshin killer? Again, I don't think and I don't want Wuthering Waves to be the Genshin killer. I want it to be the Genshin competition. Because I know for a fact that if, let's say hypothetically, in a world where Wuthering Waves does end Genshin, it's just going to be the same thing all over again because they will get complacent. They will have a monopoly. It's not good. You have to understand that as a consumer, as a player, a monopoly is never in your favor. If you notice, right around like Wuthering Waves launch, right around that time, Genshin actually released a patch where they gave a bunch of quality of life stuff that people had been asking for a long time, even stuff that people hadn't been asking for. And I can guarantee you that the fact that it has only happened now has a lot to do with Wuthering Waves. They tried to do the stuff that they could actually do in a short amount of time, and they implemented those changes. And I can guarantee you, if the numbers look right for Wuthering Waves, it's only gonna be a good thing for you. It's never gonna end Genshin, but it is going to affect the numbers that MiHoYo looks at, that the investors look at.
My headspace been weaker, it's been waiting for the right day. Like the right day ever comes, I'm